Michael Jordan, and yet it bothers you when people talk about him as being the greatest player of all time.
Well, it bothers me because we all have our opinions, and I don't think that, commensurate with what he's doing, what he's done, and how the game is going today, that he's better than Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, Bill Russell, a number of people.
Greatest scorer of all time? Not even. Would you even give him that?
Well, you see, what people don't remember was that my first 7 years,
but that doesn't mean it.
when I stopped my own volition. I tried to do other things. I was asked to do other things, and that's why I spent the last 7 years. It wasn't about points, it was about trying to do other things.
Alright, so it's clear, a lot of people around the world play basketball, and those people also have their own opinions on who the greatest player to ever play is. It's not just you, me, or anyone in the NBA who has these opinions. 400 million people play basketball around the world if we want to get fancy about it, so how is it with all these people who ever or used to play the game, we can pin down exactly the 2 best players who ever played this game? No. Quite simply, we can't, because although most of a player's career will be down to skill, and yeah, that's great, brilliant actually, but a player's career can also largely be down to luck, unfortunately, which can have its upsides, but most of the time, yeah. It's weird because players like Tracy McGrady, Paul George, and Charles Barkley all have extensive catalogs showing that they truly can be the real deal, but can never quite make it to that GOAT status. To understand why, let's look at the 3 main reasons, starting with the most obvious: different time periods.
I beg to differ, and I'll give a different analogy to that, because first of all, you're never going to say who's the greatest of all time. To me, I think that's more for PR and more for selling stories and getting hype. Jack and Tiger never played against each other. They never played in the same tournament. They never played with the same equipment. They never played with the same length of golf course. I never played against Wilt Chamberlain. I never played against Jerry West. To now say that one's greater than the other is being a little bit unfair.
This is the common argument always made against older basketball players to dumb down their accomplishments, which, albeit true, a lot of the time can be blown out of scope. Because most people see basketball players who played back in the 50s and 60s as people who actually were plumbers, soldiers, or average Joes, who genuinely see basketball as nothing more than a side hustle. Which, you would be right, but at the same time, you can't say that, as there were freak athletes as well. Namely, of course, Wilt Chamberlain, who really does get clowned on a lot because of his competition, but really, there's 2 sides of that coin as well. If you were in his situation as the greatest athlete in the world, surrounded by some of the worst athletes in the world, would you really take your job that seriously? Yeah, there's no way that's happening. Guys like Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain were quite simply all-stars in a league of junior varsity players. They realistically did not have enough competition, fame, or glory to fight for that's seen every single day on the NBA now. Meaning, then, would they really be motivated to perform as well as they truly could? Again, the answer is no. So just imagine this for a second. Guys like Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, or even Elgin Baylor if you want to be underground about it. Crazy athletes, freaks almost, in their skill who could humiliate any one of us, were given the training, the conditioning, the fame that star athletes get now. They may not have been as dominant, but at the same time, they could have been even better, which, if we're being honest about, is something pretty terrifying to say about someone who was averaging 50 points a game.
Looking to sweep you guys. You wanted us. You were crying out that you bypassed the harder team in Miami Heat.
Rose came down bad on his left foot. See him holding onto his knee and down.
How many times have we been through this? A potential new NBA prospect who's touted as the next LeBron James with skill to prove it, backed down by injuries. Sure, injuries can be frustrating in general, but especially is so when it occurs to a more younger player. Because, plain and simple, if a player suffers a major injury at any stage, this can completely derail their career in a matter of minutes. Because, in the short term, sure, this prevents their player from playing, But what it also does is prevent the player from truly improving on their game, as it's quite simple. When you're in pain, you can't train, play, or better it. But simply, all you have to do is just wait until you're healed. Due to this, a player's confidence can massively take a hit, as well as this may lead to them feeling, to be honest, useless. Showing overall how injuries can harm a player from achieving their full potential, as this does happen in the modern NBA much more frequent than you would imagine. So this point could almost be opposite to the previous point, as with the age of social media, much more pressure is put on a player after they get an injury to come back. And not only that, but also if they will be the same player when they come back. However, this has particularly been happening to the past few number 1 overall draft picks in the NBA draft, as these players have been groomed up to be basketball phenoms all their life, which raises a problem in a completely different branch with sports specialization. This is quite a particular problem within young basketball players today, because when they're younger, they realize their dreams of being a basketball star. So, them and their parents forcing them, instead of taking the traditional sports route of maybe playing basketball at high school, college, and then as well playing other sports on top of that. Instead of that, we replace those other sports, such as American football or track and field, and add in more basketball, whether that's youth training camps or tournaments, which quite simply is the cause for disaster in a young basketball player, as instead of juggling different sports and giving different muscles in their body rests, they instead keep on playing basketball and overexhaust the muscles required to play basketball, working out so that by the time the basketball player turns 20, it is almost as if they'd been playing a 15-year career. Examples of this have been clear as well. In the 2010-2011 season, 31 players played all 82 games of the season. However, if we look at today, it's clearly not the case, as in the 2022-2023 season, only 10 players played 82 games. The unfortunate truth about it as well is there's quite simply just way too many examples to go through about this cause. Most of them, again, being younger players. However, a more important one I'd like to mention would be Kawhi Leonard, of course, because when all is said and done, he easily would have a top 15 career of all time. Would though, that's the thing. He's an incredible free-level scorer, two-way player. As you can see, he's consistently near improved his efficiency every single season since joining LA. However, the problem is he hasn't been healthy in the playoffs since 2020, which greatly takes away from his resume overall, because even as it stands, he already has a great one, having several championships, finals MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year awards, and All-Star games. However, if he played more games, he could have had more, and even potentially an MVP, which really could have added to his greatest of all time status, as with those rings, it could cement his success, or as well could cement his character. But now, without that and injuries, it's just a message of what could have been.
Well, as you know, David, there was a misquote. What I said was that players and coaches alone don't win championships, that organizations do. I do sincerely believe that organizations as a whole win. One part of it can't win alone.
Okay, let's be real here. We all know the NBA is a TV show, and with any good TV show, you need performers. But more than that, characters, personalities. But what's special about it is that it's a team sport. Teams win, not individuals, despite their character. But due to this, some legacies may be down to luck, because the main way to get into so many teams is through the draft or the trade, making it increasingly more impossible for a player to get to their desired team because of the sheer quantity of players in the draft, which a player better hope they're picked by a winning or potential team, because if they win championships, it cements their legacy as a winner, or even more than that, cements their story as a player, but not only that, a character as well. Because, quite simply, no man can do it alone. Some have tried, especially 2018 Lebron, who was putting up non-human stat lines. It's a shame though who he had to go up against. Yeah, the Warriors, we all know, but not just the Warriors, that version of the Warriors. Yeah. That's why teams will always win. They have shooters, but they also have defenders, glue guys, and someone who can do it all. And that's why teams are so important, because they need every facet of the game to win, not just one player. Meaning a player's legacy can still heavily be down to luck, because draft and the trades can be luck, but also free agency can as well. Because sometimes it can be for benefit, it can help a player out and cement their legacy. It can be for good, give them more championships, great. But we've also seen some more unfortunate times because of unforeseen circumstances the players simply cannot predict. Imagine you're in a team, you gotta help your city, your teammates, coach, ownership. That's a lot of variables to take in here. And quite simply, I think this can be summarized with one man, Michael Jordan. As quite simply, we all know, he was a great basketball player, if not the greatest of all time. Just look at his accolades here. He won 6 championships, 5 MVPs, and almost any other award you could ever think of. Not only that, he was also a cultural icon, both within media and also basketball sports, as he inspired nearly every single player to play after him. It's crazy to think about. How could one man be so good by himself? No, he needs a team to help him get that level. As quite simply, Michael Jordan played under a competent team, a front office that understood his talents and knew to supply him with the right coaching staff and also the right teammates to fulfill his needs, allowing him to truly become what many feel is the GOAT. I was even trying to imagine how his career would play out if he didn't play on teams like this, but instead played on teams like this. Finally, we can't decide who the greatest of all time is, because each one of these guys, they've gone through a completely different story from one another. They've been viewed in different ways, in different time periods of their career. So, what's the point of debating truly who's the best, when instead, we can celebrate the talent we have right now. Thanks for watching.